Greetings again on our oral history broadcast. This is Ray Mofield speaking for the State Library Archives in Frankfort, for the Pogue Library at Murray State University, and the Marshall County Library, all brought to you as a public service of WCBL Radio, Shelby McCallum owner, who got the program started in the first place. Today we're very fortunate to be at the Executive Inn in Paducah, but we're interviewing a Marshall Countian, and I'm sure a name that'll be recognized immediately by all of you, Tom Rickman, who not only is a graduate of Murray State, but is now a noted Hollywood movie director. Tom, good to have you.
All right. It's good to see you again.
Well, I haven't seen you since the awards you won at Murray State as Distinguished Outstanding Alumnus.
Mm-hmm. Was that a couple of years ago? It was quite a thrill to get the award at Murray.
Now, Tom, you grew up at Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed your mother recently, and she was a very interesting person. And of course, we're looking for Marshall County background, and among other things, I found that I believe she was a Johnston.
That's right.
And a descendant of General Albert Sidney Johnston, CSA.
Well, that's what we say.
Yeah.
We haven't traced it that directly, but all the Johnsons must be related someplace.
Do you remember any of your school teachers at Sharp? Did you go to elementary there?
Sure, yeah. I started at Sharp in the first grade and went through the ninth grade when it consolidated with North Marshall. But no, I remember very well. Miss Nola Tompkins and Miss Beulah Wilkins, Miss Verta McAllister, and Mr. Earl Walker, and it was quite.
And then you went to North Marshall to high school.
Correct.
And let's see, was Mr. Goheen still there?
Yes, Mr. Going was principal all the time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then you went to Murray State,
mm-hmm.
and your major was journalism?
Oh, it was actually English. I had was an English major with a minor in journalism and French.
Yes.
I didn't learn anything about either journalism or French when I was there, but it wasn't their fault.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, Tom, after leaving Murray State, did you work on your master's at the University of Illinois?
That's right. I went to Illinois and got a master's. I was working on a PhD, in fact, when I left and went to film school in Los Angeles.
Tell me why you left.
Well, I knew pretty much that I didn't want to teach, and that's, as you know, a PhD is headed for that. And I'd always wanted to write. But what I was doing mostly at Illinois was, even though I was there in English, I had started a theater in an old Illinois Central radio station. So I was spending all my time in the theater, acting and directing and writing, and that was clearly my main interest. And I also made a film while I was there. And the film, I submitted the film to the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, and they accepted me as a fellow in their first program, the first year of their existence. And so that took me to California. And from there I got into the movie business.
You recommend then that if a person really wants to do something, that you devote everything and go right to it?
Yeah, I think so. You can't, if you're lucky enough to know what you want to do, and many people don't, and I certainly didn't for a long, long time, it's being prepared, like the Boy Scouts. You have to learn everything you can about the field you're in, and try to put yourself where the opportunities are.
Solomon said the race is not to the swift nor the battle to the strong, but time and chance have happened to them all. But I take it you're saying you can help that chance come along.
Well, I think your chances are greater if you've located yourself where the chances can happen.
Yes, proximity.
Exactly.
Now, of course, University of Southern Cal has undergraduate film programs taught by directors such as yourself. Have you taught any there?
No, I haven't. I haven't done any teaching in universities, but for the last 6 years, I've taught a screenwriting workshop at Squaw Valley in California, and also at the Sundance Institute in Utah.
I happen to be a member of the American Film Institute, so I get a magazine. It's a monthly American film. And was it a couple of years ago they had a feature on you and told all the movies you'd made?
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's part of their interview program. series they do.
And of course, most of us in this area were thinking in terms of coal miner's daughter.
Hmm.
But I think you had then done about 8 other films, as I recall.
Well, Coal Miners was my 6th movie, and I mean, some I'd rather forget, and some were all right.
Yeah.
But Coal Miners was the one that was that finally.
Now, of course, that's the one that interested Shelby McCallum.
Mhm.
How did you come to put WCBL in there? That wasn't Whitesburg's call. Everybody. Is that author's liberty?
Author's Liberty, just having a little fun. I had to. They were touring around and playing small radio stations, and I happened to think of WCBL, and that made me think of a barbecue place in Benton, Hutchins, and so little did I know that anybody was paying that much attention. It was just sort of a private joke for myself.
Yeah. Well, of course, it was a big hit in Marshall County, as you could well imagine.
Well, that's what I hear.
Yeah. All right, you had done a number of these other movies. Now, Coal Miners brought you more attention, though, than anything you'd ever done up to that time.
Hmm. No, that got me nominations for
The Academy Award.
Academy Awards and the Writers Guild Award and other
Mhm.
kinds of awards, and it was, but more than that, it was a picture I was really proud of. I mean, it had worked out right. Cast was right, the director was right, and it was a picture that people seemed to like, and many people seemed to like it more than just a movie, because it said something about Appalachia, for instance, that they hadn't seen before, and so that was very gratifying. That kind of response, so that you just haven't done another movie. It's been something that's meant something to someone.
Now, writing skills got you where you were, I suppose, in this. Could you name some other things that are needed in movie making?
Oh, perseverance, and again, I think it gets back to being prepared. You simply have to know what process is, and there are several processes in a movie, and the process of actually shooting the movie sometimes seems the one with the less emphasis. There's a process of getting it made, and the maze you have to go through with scripts and studio executives and producers and so forth in order to get a picture done. And then after shooting, the post-production part of it, and the release, it's all it's easily a year out of your life, any movie, and probably more. And every stage is critical, and you have to have a pretty good idea of what's going on in every stage.
The cutting is very critical, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you can't cut film if you haven't shot the film to cut. But
does it hurt you when you have expended all this time and effort and money on a lot of scenes, and about what percentage do you throw away?
Well, it depends on if you're running along, you have to lose entire scenes. Well, that's painful, because not only have you had to spend the time to shoot the scenes, but also if you've done the script right, every scene has a purpose. There aren't any superfluous scenes, so that's when it really gets tough. You expect in a film to shoot at least 10 times as much as you can actually use, so that's built into the process. And you always have to lose things that you wouldn't, which you'd rather not lose. But it's when a film has to be crammed into that 2-hour limitation that it's painful, and you start losing things you like.
Now, you had written a number of these, and as I understand it, you wrote this and you're also directing. Was that your aim from the beginning, to get up to a director's chair?
Yes, when I went to AFI, I went as a writing directing fellow, and it's not easy to direct. Somebody has to want you to direct for some reason or another, and it took a while. And usually the way a writer does it is to have a hit movie, and then the writer can write another script and demand that he be allowed to direct it, which is what happened in this case.
A number of young directors, I suppose, have made so-called inexpensive movies, and and gotten them shown around. And
Mhm.
it takes a lot of capital to make a major film, doesn't it?
Well, even an inexpensive movie is very expensive.
Millions now.
We're talking, yeah, millions easily. And 10 years ago, an inexpensive, a low-budget film could be anywhere from $750,000 to $1.5 million. But now, I mean, you can't even do a television show for that now. The costs are astronomical for a film, for any film. And that means that's fewer films are being made for that reason.
Tell us a little bit about the movie you're making now. I know, of course, if you could get a hit on your hands, are you set up some way where you could draw a percentage?
Yeah, it's always the individual deals are negotiated, but yes, you get, there's a lot of profit participation now in films.
Mm-hmm.
And if the film's a hit, then you can share in the profits. Of course, Hollywood bookkeeping is notorious for theft, so
You have to keep your eyes open.
it keeps the accountants busy out there, where they're auditing each other. But that's part of it too.
Now, if I have read a story or two about the newspaper, and I brought you a couple of weeklies that had interviewed you
Mhm.
when you were shooting out in the field, it has elements of Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer in it?
Yeah, it's clearly inspired by Huckleberry Finn and the Mississippi River. In fact, it was right here in Paducah. It was just a couple of blocks from here, 10 years ago. I was looking at the Ohio and thinking about the river and thinking if Huck Finn had made the right turn at Cairo,
Yeah.
they would have come right past here. They
Sure.
were supposed to go north into free territory, but they missed
Mm-hmm.
the turn at Cairo and went south into slave territory. It was an idle thought. I started thinking, well, I wonder if you could do a contemporary story about the Mississippi River, which would echo all that and still say something about present-day America and present-day values and so forth. It was a long process. It took me 10 years to really, off and on, to think about what the story would actually be, and then I started writing it 3 years ago.
So you got the script essentially down on paper, and then then do you have to start looking for someone who will put up the money?
Well, what usually happens is, if you have a little bit of a track record, is that you don't write, you go and talk. You go to a studio and say, I have a story here about the Mississippi River, and it would have this and this and this in it. And then they make what they call a development deal,
Mhm.
which they pay you to write a script, and then once it's written, you hope they do it. There's so many elements involved in getting a picture done, getting the right cast, and getting a cast that's acceptable to the studio that they'll finance, for instance. All kinds of things. So it's
How
a
many
real-
people, more or less, did you bring here from Hollywood that you knew would be starring? And then you've hired a lot of extras, of course, in the area.
Well, our cast is, the plan, the scheme of this picture was to use non-professionals in a lot of the roles for an authenticity and the
Mhm.
right accents and the right look and so forth. So Tommy Lee Jones, I had written the part for. He's my favorite actor, and I liked what he did a lot in Coal Miner's Daughter. So I had him in mind for that. And and then Brian Dennehy, who's playing the villain, and it came along, and somebody I like quite a bit too. But aside from those two, almost everyone in the picture is a newcomer, a new face, either first picture or they haven't had much exposure in feature films. But we had a wonderful cast.
Is there much of a chance that some one of those would make such an impression that they could become a movie maker for play in films for life?
Oh yeah, I think we have a couple of stars in the making of this. Martha Plimpton, who's 12 years old from New York, is definitely, in my opinion, a star. This is her first leading role, and a wonderful character actor from Dallas named Tony Frank, who was just terrific in it. So, unfortunately, I had to kill him off.
Movie deaths are frequent, I'm sure.
There's always a resurrection.
Yeah. Well, how has it worked do you think, in your plan to draw people from the area? Have you been pretty well satisfied?
Yeah, I have. We got there's a 9-year-old black boy, Sean Smith, who lives about 3 blocks from this hotel, who walked in and we cast, and he's been very good. A lot of fun with him. And a lot of the smaller parts have been people that have just come in for the day. They've never been on a movie set before, never been in a play or had anything to do with acting, who came in. It's a very strange thing that people can actually do it.
Well, you have to show them how, though, don't you?
Oh yeah, you have to sit down with them and say this and that, but it really is amazing that almost always they'll surprise you.
So a director is really a teacher.
Yeah, you're a teacher and a pleader and a shouter and a threatener. So you have to do all those things.
You lose your temper sometimes?
Well, I try not to, but it's been known to happen.
Yeah. All right, and this film will be just about finished before too long?
We we have to deliver it to the studio in March, and then of course there's always a marketing scheme as to when it'll be released. It'll either be released in the spring or the fall, probably. So, but the process of editing and all the post-production is a long process too. That's about 6 months.
What are some of the areas you've used? I believe Hickman was one.
I made a composite town, which was partly Hickman, partly the Clarks River bottoms, partly Paducah, partly Wickliffe. Elements of all these towns to make up our imaginary town. So we've been there. We've been quite a bit on the Ohio, up around Smithland, Ledbetter.
Have you had to remake some of those cities that you've repainted signs and?
Yeah, we in the main street of Hickman, for instance, we redecorated the main street just for, in fact, a bicycle ride, which lasts about 5 seconds. So,
what time in historical perspective is this? Is it 1983?
yes, sir. Present day. It'll be 1984 when the picture comes out.
Yeah.
But which is the point of it. I wanted to get, the kind of landscape there is now. I went down the Mississippi researching this, and there are elements of it that are literally unchanged, it seems to me, for thousands of years. And then there are the other side. It's like having a video game on a steamboat.
Well, Tom, when you were at Murray State, I guess I was in Dr. Woods' office as his executive assistant. So, as I recall, I didn't really have you in a class. Now, nearly everybody I meet says, well, you had Tom Rickman in your class, didn't you? But I really didn't. Was Lou Edmondson teaching?
Yes, he was in charge of the head of the journalism department, and I worked on the paper. I was business manager and a sports writer for a while.
Yes.
And did a column.
All right, as we bring this interview to a close, and 30 minutes certainly goes in a hurry, but I would like to wish for you at least that you can attain D.W. Griffith's stature.
Another Kentucky boy.
Yeah, that's right, up at Anchorage in Oldham County, near Louisville. And I'm told that he did just about every technique that's ever been thought of, including the flashback and...
That's right, moving camera and all kinds of things with Griffith. So, well, I'd be satisfied to be
if you could attain
anybody.
that. Very good. Well, do you have any particular closing message for your friends in Marshall County?
Well, no, except that it's really been a thrill of a lifetime to be able to come back here and do the film and see people I haven't seen in 20 or 25 years. And
I know you're under a considerable amount of pressure. Anybody wants to succeed, and I guess you haven't really had time to spend much time with your mother.
No, that's been the hard part. We do what we can, but these are very, very hard days, and 6 days a week, and there isn't much time left over for anything. And usually when you're off, you have to prepare the next day, trying to keep one day ahead when you can.
Yes.
So it's been a rough schedule, but I think they've enjoyed it. They like coming to the set, and they like meeting the people. Because we have the nicest crew in the world. They really are
Yes.
great people who love it here. And
Well, that's fine.
they all don't want to leave. They keep looking around for ways to stay.
But all good things have to come to a close, and that includes this interview, and we thank you especially for working us in. We want to thank your assistant, Mr. Myers, for helping make the arrangement, and it's good to have met him as well, and to have briefly seen your wife. We're signing off from the executive end. Hope you enjoy the broadcast, and remember, the tape will be available at the Kentucky Archives in Frankfort, at the Murray State University Pogue Library in Murray, and at the Marshall County Library in Benton. I'm Ray Mofield. We return you now to our studios.